who is a writer here or would like to write for video games? Someone? Yeah, one, two, three. Ah, there are a lot. Cool, cool. Now I will be talking about tools to improve narrative. Yeah, there are tools, right? Like a hammer or like a pair of scissors. They are there. You can use it. They are not the only one. They are not the only thing that there is out there, right? So, but they are so useful at the same time. So we will talk about these tools that we have and how to write for video games, because it's not the same writing for a video game than writing for a book or for a movie or for a cartoon, for instance. So the first thing that I think you have to do when you are writing for a game is to follow a vision using the elements that the game already have, because probably you will find a game that is already in a developed stage. No one starts a game like, let's do a game about an accountant that is having that is having problem with his wife or something like that. The first thing you have to do is follow, make a vision, yeah. Check what is already in the game and try to make it a story with that keep in mind the game audience, yeah. When you are about to set a tone, for instance, if you have these cute graphics over there that they are like so happy and that, the tone of the story will not be a dark one, depressing. Of course, you can do it if you want to explore something new, but it's not the best idea to make a game that is dark if the graphics that are already there are not matching that tone that you are setting. So when you already have like a tone set, for instance, humor. Let's make a game that is like light-hearted and with a lot of humor. You do a small premise, yeah, about the game. For instance, a guy who have to wake up the Princess Zelda, and that's it. Then there is a lot of gameplay there, but that will start to flow, make the ideas flow, yeah. So make a small predicament and then follow to shaping the story. A good thing that you have to do is just create a 3 basic story arc that probably the middle will be huge, because in games all the action is going on in the second act. So probably the first act will be a little short story, and then we have like a huge second act that is gameplay, and then the final. But keep in mind the gameplay of the game when you are shaping this story, right? Because if you like to make any story when the guy is just, I don't know, having a lot of cold and he's freezing, and in the middle of the game we have this lava level, it doesn't make any sense. So keep in mind the gameplay when you are shaping this 3-story structure. And depending on the nature of your gameplay, you will like smaller stories will start to pop up, and you should also divide these small stories into 3-act structures. For instance, let's make an example. You got a Mega Man there. The Mega Man's game starts with fighting all the master robots and then going to Wily. So if you want, you could divide the part when you are selecting to fight Elecman, Iceman, and all that, like a 3-act structure, and then the Willy Castle, like another 3-act story in a huge like story that contain everything. Or you even, if you want, you can divide in a 3 structure each stage of the Mega Man levels when you are selecting. Once you have this structure like set, you should make a character inventory. Yeah, there are 2 types of characters. Ones that are already there because they are dictated by gameplay. For instance, Bowser. Bowser is there because there is a boss that you have to overcome. No matter if you write the story of Bowser to be a giant ninja turtle that have a problem with his dad, who cares? But he will still be existing. But for instance, Princess Peach, she exists to assist the plot. It's not necessary in the gameplay. Princess Peach could have been a treasure if the story of Mario were a story about looting treasure from a giant ninja turtle. Once you have this this inventory of different characters that you have checked, the boss one, boss two, this girl that have to assist in the plot, blah, 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 blah. You start to adding deep to these characters to know who they are. And so you start to set the character bios, right? You give him a personality, passions, what he loves, what he hates, what he fears, what he is afraid of, what passion he has, what relationship he has with others, what is his boss, who is his mother, and any other relevant subject that you have. For instance, here is kind of a I don't have the word. You have how do you say the a template? Yeah. Oh, thank you. You have here a template that you could use to develop your characters. This is a really shortened version of a template. You can find on the internet a lot of different templates that could help you to develop a character or not. It's not necessary that you use each of one of those categories, but they are like the basic one and will help you. Yeah? You check if it's a dictative gameplay, what the game mechanic, the personality, love, hates, etc. Right? But when you do this, you have to add deep to those characters, right? There are some tips to add deep to make them more interesting. For instance, the tip numero uno is flower characters are much more interesting than perfect characters, and that's why Spider-Man is much better than Superman, because Superman is super and Spider-Man have problem with money and he really have a lot of issues, and that issues is that make them more relatable. The fears is what make a character interesting, well, because you can feel what is going on. And when they overcome a problem, they are like much more interesting because they overcome this problem having all these kind of problems that they have, these flaws. The tip number dos will be that stereotypes are good. Stereotypes are not bad. Stereotypes are what make the player can understand the character like really quick because they already know. But twist is what make a character memorable. So you have to balance between making a stereotype and putting a twist on it to make the character interesting, but at the same time quick to get, because in games you don't have like 20 pages to develop a character. He have to see it and say, oh, I know who this guy is. He's the tough guy, the bad guy. He's the cool guy. He's the nerdy guy. But he have to take it like, oh, there it is. So stereotypes are okay. And this is another tip. If you are bad setting the different personalities of your characters, they are kind of locked. What you can do is assign avatar animals to them. For instance, you say, well, this boss will have the personality of a wolf. And suddenly, a lot of personality traits will pop instantly, because you know what are the traits of a wolf. You would say, oh, he's lonely, but he's loyal, but he like to hunt, and there will appear a lot of different set of traits automatically. If he's a squirrel, he will be like, oh, he's quick, but he's scared really easy, etc. The main character, there are some rules that you can apply to the main character. Is super important in a game, because the player is stuck with this guy like a lot. I mean, all the time he's moving this little stupid guy that we have here. The thing is, the name of the character is really important. If you are making a demon hunter slayer that is the last of his clan, if in a serious game, and his name is Bob, it will be like kind of hard to make it swallow that he's so badass. So we should make the name should match what you are trying to do. But if you are doing it in a comic way, in a humorous game, and the demon slayer name is Bob, then it makes sense and it's fun. Make the main character relatable. Yeah. The audience have to like this little guy that he will be using. Like he has to like it like a lot, because, as I told you before, he will be like all the time with them. So he has to have a moral consistency. The audience should know what is going on in the head of the character. He know, for instance, he will never kill a rabbit, for instance, and he has to be consistent with this moral rule that we apply to them. So when there is a situation where he has to kill a rabbit, he will be doubtful and he don't want to do that, and then you got an excuse to make a punish in the game for killing rabbits. He has to be highly motivated because he will be doing a lot of stuff during the gameplay. So he have to be like he has to have a passion, like really strong, or a strong motivation to do all the gameplay that he will have to do. And they need positive traits for the audience, of course. They are not the same positive traits for kids, for teenagers, or for mother. So you have to set a lot of positive traits that relate to this audience that you are aiming. Now, about facing in video games. Because now we know what the characters are, how they are, but now let's see when it's cool to make them talk. There are a conventional spot for the story to unveil, depending on the genre that you are working for. There are places that the player is expecting to the story to be. For instance, if you are playing a Warcraft game, and at the end of the mission there is no story there, you will feel like scammed, because you were expecting the story to unveil after you kill the main boss, and probably, if this is a Blizzard game, a cinematic or something like that. On RPGs, in the save spot, there are always a little of story. So the player is waiting for a story to be in that part, depending on the genre that you are working on. And the funny thing is that makes the story a treat for the player, that is waiting for this story after I did all this, now I deserve the story. So you put the story in places that are conventional. But if that wasn't clear enough and you want to add more story in your game, but you don't know exactly where to put the story, there are some tools that you can use that will like easily point you out where you can put story in. For instance, you make a graphic like this one that I have made in Paint, that is terrible written, terrible made, where the tension for the player, then you see that in the game they encounter the first enemy wave, and then there is tension, they shoot, pam, 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 they die, they walk a little, and there is the enemy outpost. So you have to kill the enemy outpost, they shoot, grenades, boom, everything, outpost done. They wait a bit, and then there arrive enemy reinforcement, and again, bang, bang, bang. A lot of shooting. You kill all the guys, and then the big boss appears, and I'm the big boss. Battle again. You kill him. The scoreboard appears, and you go to the next level to climb a mountain, for instance. And there is where the story should go. It's like throwing a glass of water over all those mountains, and you will see that the interest of the player will keep more or less in the same level, making a curve. So we can make a dialogue before fighting the first enemy where, oh, I think these guys are over there, blah, blah, blah. We're shooting. Oh, yeah, we did it, blah. Oh, but look, there is the outpost there. Oh, and they kill them. And after that, you have like spots to make the dialogues go. Don't put the story in the middle of the action, because I'm not if you have someone, some friend that play Dota or League of Legends, and you try to talk to them when they are playing, they will not give a crap about what you're telling. So wait till the tension go down to tell your story. The result, since you know these characters because you make a set of traits, and you know in the situation that they are, because you know exactly in what part of the game they are talking, they will be able to attack with themselves, and you will be reading like really, really quick and really, really easy. Because you know how their personality traits, what motivate them, what is happening right now. So you write like super, super easy. However, problems you might have with reading. You might have some problems with reading anyway. The common problems are that you are blocked. What I suggest is that know your reference. So know what you want to be, and check what's that thing doing. For instance, if you want to make a game that is kind of Monkey Island-ish and you're blocked, please go and play Monkey Island and see how they solve the problem that you are having. And because in writing, like in art, in all kind of art, you are already taking reference, even if you know it or you don't. So it's good to have in mind what your reference is. And if it's still blocked, write anything, like blah, 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 whatever thing, and then the stories, the ideas will start to flow, yeah? And then you go back and fix the mess you did while you were blocked. But since the flow again start to go, then you will be able to write again. But then don't stop, like Zangief, never stop. What happens if your script sucks? Well, if your script sucks, then show your script a lot in early stages. Show to people who don't care about your game, so they give you like harsh criticism. And give it also to people who care about the genre, so it makes sense for them, and they invest time reading your things and then giving you feedback. Get more references. If you are trying to make a Monkey Island game, play Monkey Island, but also Green Fandango and The Day of the Tentacle on all the other things, and change it. If it sucks, change it, okay? Go back and redo the work that is done that sucks. Yeah? Common narrative mistakes is taking control of the player too often. Don't take the control of the player too often. It pisses him off. And gameplay over cutscenes all the way. For instance, if you play Mega Man X, the Baba fight is a perfect example. He beat the shit out of you, but when you are playing, it's not like a cutscene and he kill and he attack you and then Zero saves you. No, the players suffer trying to overcome this enemy. He's defeated, and then someone came and saved you. But it's not a cutscene. And don't annoy the player with the story. The story is like the game is a hamburger, and the story are fries. You don't want fries over the place in your hamburger, okay? You want to eat your hamburger and maybe take a fry, or eat your fries, but and bite a bit your hamburger. But it's not like it have not be messy, right? And another thing is walls of text are the keys of that. Don't make walls of text. The Star Wars intro is terrible in this huge text that come. It works for Star Wars, not for your games, okay? Not even for the tutorials. And that's all, folks. If you have a question, it was good, the timing.
The timing is perfect. Actually, we do have time to take one or two questions. Does anyone have a question for Hernan? Well, actually, I have a question for you. Do you have any advice or tips for us when we inherit a sequel and we are stuck with somebody else's narrative not created with these guidelines?
Try to ask for feedback for the original guy who did the characters, and stick to that. Don't try to change the characters that are already there. First, ask them. Ask the guy who wrote them, how they wrote them, what is going on in their heads of the characters according to him, and try to stick to that. Don't try to make like you can introduce new characters. That's cool. That's perfect. That's the idea, and they will be yours. But characters that are from other authors, try to be the more accurate possible. To don't confuse the audience, because suddenly he has a lot of different traits, and you don't want that.
Excellent. Are there any other questions? Yes, over here.
Do you have any tips about making characters mysterious but still keeping them interesting? Because we're running into a problem where if something is mysterious, you just don't tell about it enough, and then people don't care. How do you make something?
I'm not allowed to answer that question. No. How to make a character that is mysterious? Yeah, you have. Of course, if he's mysterious, he has to hide things. But the thing about mystery is that you have to see at least the tip of the thing that he's hiding. I mean, you have to know that there is something fishy going on. You have to start to give clue away. You cannot be like mysterious like this. It's like when there is a sexy girl dressed. It doesn't show everything, but it's suggesting something. You have to suggest what is going on with your character. The player almost have to know exactly what's going on, but since he doesn't see exactly since he don't have the confirmation, the obvious confirmation, it will be like, oh, he's a vampire, or he's not a vampire, or he's pretending to be a vampire. But if he's a vampire and you never give a clue, he's just a guy who never go out at night. It's everyone in Casual Connect, for instance, will be like something like that.
All right, thank you.
Yes.
Thank you for your speech. The question is, the character named Bob, you mentioned that this character...
You like Bob, right?
Yeah, so
I know.
Twin Peaks, like, how does it work for Twin Peaks? Like the guy, the badass, totally badass guy named Bob, and he's freaking me out.
I'm like really screwed with that question because I don't know the game.
It's not a game, it's like a TV series. Yeah,
No idea. But if it's a kelp, and the tone of the series,
the tone
is serious one, or is
it's
like
mysterious, partially funny, partially.
and that's the thing.
Yeah.
If it's partially funny, a Bob will be good. But if you are doing like a dark story, terror, and all that, and here come Bob, well, it's not. Maybe there it will be inappropriate. However, a story, writing a story, it's a form of art. So again, anything can happen. You can make a story that is super dark, and the guy is called Pinky or whatever. But my advice is, if you are starting, know the rules. Then you do with the rules whatever you know, whatever you want. But if the thing that could work more is this: you then do whatever you want. And could work perfectly. So it's totally possible to. But it won't work. It won't be my advice to do that.
Okay, thank you.
Hernan, thank you very much. That was a
Oh, thank
fantastic
you.
presentation on the story.
Thank you.
Great.